We're back, and this is the Valley's most in-depth, detailed, geeky weather forecast video, the Thursday evening edition here on the 25th day of September. We are getting set to head into another pretty benign weather pattern after an active week this week. Now, rainfall totals, as expected today, were pretty modest. Some rain gauges here picked up a few hundredths of an inch. We had about a quarter of an inch closer to Lisbon, West Point, Calcutta, even a half an inch or so once you're down towards the Ohio River, East Liverpool, Wellsville, places like that. But in general, the rainfall totals today were pretty modest. So, over the last week, let's look at the last week compared to the average, and what a change. We are running some big surpluses here for a change over the last 7 days. A lot of the areas had about 200% of the average rainfall for that period. But of course, when we look at the month and our anomalies for September, we're still way behind average in most of the area for September, although the deficits are not as impressive, if you will, as they were just a handful of days ago. And when you go back 3 months, here's our problem. Over the last 3 months, we've seen about half of the average amount of rain from mid to late June through mid to late September. And that's why with today's updated drought monitor, we remain in a moderate drought across a lot of the area, and even a severe or extreme drought in parts of the area. This is I'll get out of the way here, and this is the current drought monitor. Some relief in the middle of our area, but we're still technically in an extreme drought in southeastern Columbiana County with today's update from the U.S. Drought Monitor. Now, we have to keep in mind, with these updates from this product, these are put out on Thursdays, but the data is collected a couple of days beforehand. So this update does not include any rain that would have fallen over the last 48 to almost 72 hours. So we always keep that in mind when we talk about this product on Thursdays when it has been dry. The dry weather has been noteworthy, of course, and we're in one of those situations right now where it has indeed been pretty noteworthy over the last couple of months. Last of the rain showers fading away this evening. These will be the last raindrops our area is likely to see for some time now, and today being the 25th day of September, about 3 days past the equinox, today is actually the day in which we have 12 hours of daylight and darkness across the area. It's what we call the Equilux. Sunrise this morning was at 7:13, sunset this evening at 7:14, 1 minute after I mentioned the Equilux. Here it is 7:15 as of this graphic, what I'm showing you. So 12 hours pretty much on the nose worth of daylight today on the Equilux. Now, we are in fog season, as I've been mentioning several times this week, and we've had several pretty foggy nights and early mornings this week, and Friday morning, no exception. Some parts of the area can have some dense fog. Keep that in mind if you'll be out and about, and overnight and first thing Friday morning, we could have at least some patchy fog over the weekend as well. But no fog concerns, of course, for Friday night football this week. It's going to be a nice Friday evening, much like the last several weeks. We've had very few problems in terms of the weather on Friday evenings so far this football season. 69 degrees, 70 in some places at kickoff on Friday, closer to 60 by the time you head home from our local stadiums Friday evening. Now, over the next few days, there will be some moisture that gets funneled up through the Appalachians, but I don't think that impacts us. What we will see, some high clouds. Again, patchy fog possible Saturday morning. And the weekend's not going to be perfectly sunny as a result of some of the cloudiness associated with this rain down here. Filters overhead. It'll make for kind of a milky sky at times, both Saturday and into the day on Sunday. Rain may be as nearby as like Johnstown, Pennsylvania, a place like that, but around here in our television viewing area in eastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, I think we are dry this weekend and dry next week as well. Although the weather next week, is going to be interesting in a lot of places across the southeastern U.S. because of what's going on in the tropics. It's been kind of a sleepy tropical season so far, but we have two systems that it's going to be very interesting to see how these interact or don't interact with each other. This is Umberto out here. Now, this is a tropical storm, likely on its way to becoming a hurricane. Umberto is not going to make landfall across the U.S. We think this recurves somewhere between Bermuda and the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Perhaps it reaches Category 3 hurricane strength. And even though Umberto is unlikely to make landfall in the U.S., it may interact somewhat with our other tropical system, and they might do a little dance. Now, this other tropical system doesn't have a name yet, but it will eventually. It's still what we call INVEST. It stands for investigation. 94L, it's right here. This blow up of cloudiness right here. And this is likely to strengthen into a depression and then eventually a tropical storm, maybe even a hurricane. And anyone with interests across the southeastern U.S., you got to pay attention to this because there's a lot of uncertainty as to the eventual track of this. It may come up and make landfall somewhere in the Carolinas. It may recurve out to sea. It may do a little dance with Umberto somewhere out here and do what we call the Fujiwara effect, where two tropical systems, they're kind of like magnets. They're not going to touch. They're not going to combine, but they might dance around each other a little bit. So it's possible that this system comes up, starts interacting with Umberto, and Umberto shoves it back to the south. Does one of these things. That's on the table. There's a lot we don't know, but anyone with interest in the southeast will need to monitor the situation, because one of the more likely scenarios is that there is a landfall sometime early next week, maybe Monday-ish. Myrtle Beach or some of the beaches of North Carolina, perhaps. And if that were to be the case, I think we'll probably see some cloudiness from that system, but it'd be just high clouds. It's not going to be, we're not going to see remnants from this system in terms of any precipitation here locally. All of our models are pretty much bone dry for the next 7 days. We're going to head into a pretty benign pattern, rounding out September. Heading into the month of October as well, and as far as temperature expectations, the warmest days look to be Sunday and Monday. Tuesday looks pretty warm as well. I think there will be a cold front that comes through with no rain during midweek, but it will knock our temperatures back close to average at the very beginning of October. We'll spend a few days in the lower 70s. I think beyond that, as we head towards the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th of October, we may rise farther up into the 70s, maybe even flirt with 80 a couple of maybe final times this year during that first 10 days or so of October. All right, that'll do it for me on this Thursday evening's edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. Thanks for watching, and throughout the week, I have tomorrow off. I will see you back here for a fresh edition of this video on Monday. Have a great Friday, and of course, a great weekend.